There's a major update on the H1B visa program. The US government is now cracking down on companies that prioritize hiring foreign workers over American workers. This could mean big changes for the H1B visa professionals, especially Indian workers who make up over 70% of all H1B visas. So what's really happening and how could this affect you if you're on an H1B or even planning to apply for one? Well, stick around because we are breaking it all down in today's video. Hi, this is Simon Shetty, your host and the founder of Smart Green Card. This is where we talk about immigration and everything related to high-skilled US immigration. And in today's video, we are diving into a major warning issued by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission or the EEOC against these companies that are favoring migrant workers over American workers. We'll discuss what this crackdown actually means, why the US government is even doing it now, and how it could impact H1B workers, especially those from India, and what you should do if you are an H1B worker or if you are planning to apply for one. So let's get started. Quick heads up here, I am not an immigration lawyer. This video is just for informational purposes only. For specific legal advice, you should always talk to a licensed US immigration lawyer. Alright, so what exactly happened here? So on February 19th of 2025, the EEOC, which basically enforces workplace discrimination laws, sent out a strong message. No favoritism is allowed for migrant workers over American workers. And if companies break the rules, well, they could face lawsuits. They could also face fines and even restrictions on hiring H1B workers down the line in the future. Now, the real question is, why is the US cracking down on this? Well, the government argues that some employers prefer hiring H1B workers just because they can pay them less than American workers. Now, whether or not this is true is up for debate, but from the government's perspective, this is an issue of fairness. They want to make sure that American workers are getting a fair shot at jobs, which they absolutely should. But let's talk about the biggest argument against the H1B program though. Are H1B workers actually underpaid? One of the most common claims is that companies use the H1B visas to hire so-called cheap labor or bypass certain wage standards in order to go ahead and get stuff done for less. But is that really true? Well, a lot of studies actually point to the fact that it's not exactly true. A study, for example, by the American Immigration Council found that the median salary for the H1B worker was actually much higher than the national average. So while some employers might try to underpay foreign workers, overall, the H1B employees are not really cheap labor. In fact, it costs a lot more to hire the H1B workers because they have to go through all the sponsorship process, which costs thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in order to process the legal paperwork, pay the government fees, prove that this person is being paid at the top of the field, or at least is passing the wage check in the field and doesn't disadvantage American workers. In fact, many earn significantly more than their American counterparts, and especially if you live in Silicon Valley or in the East Coast, in prominent areas, you will know this yourself. But despite this, the perception that companies are misusing the H1B program has fueled even greater scrutiny in this regard. And that brings up an important question. Is Trump indirectly wanting to make the H1B stricter here? Well, the truth here is that the US government has already ramped up enforcement on companies that prioritize H1B workers over American employees. But now the crackdown is getting even tougher. Take Meta, for example. A lawsuit alleges that they favored H1B workers to cut costs, putting even more pressure on hiring practices. And this is just the beginning of the stricter enforcement. I think there's a lot more that we will see in the days to come. Now, let's talk about the group that will be hit hardest because the H1B rules are getting tighter. And those are Indian workers. 72.3% of all the H1B visas issued last year went to individuals from just one country, India. That's a massive number. I mean, it's literally almost 3/4 of all the H1B visas available in a particular year. So if companies start pulling back on hiring H1B workers just because of these legal risks, well, Indian professionals could face disproportionately tougher competition for jobs in the US as a result of that. Look, this is not just about jobs. This could actually shake up the entire H1B system. And granted, the H1B system does need a decent amount of repair. I think it's from an era where things were a lot different. and this system has always been abused by some party or the other to gain advantage. But let's break down, if companies start getting into legal trouble for hiring H1B workers, things could actually get messy real fast. For example, renewals. That might not be so easy anymore. I'm sure you know of a friend out there that has been stuck outside when they were going to get their visa restamped after a renewal. They could become more challenging, and if employers face increased scrutiny to prove that they are not favoring foreign workers as an additional step here, some might even choose to avoid the extra burden altogether. This could actually make it harder for H1B holders to secure the extensions to even continue their stay, having done everything legally. Now, green card sponsorships, that could kind of slow down to a crawl. It's already a long, expensive process, so if companies think that it is too risky, they might just stop sponsoring foreign workers altogether. Now, this does impact people who the companies need to sponsor for green cards, but then there's kind of like a different lining to it as well, where because a lot of companies stop sponsoring green cards, the ones that do might have a quicker opportunity at getting the green card because the overall demand on these categories, employment-based categories, kind of go down as a result of this. Kind of what happened when Trump banned green card applications from abroad, and then employment-based green cards kind of spiked up, and you might know a friend or two that got their priority dates instantly current during that 3-4 months a few years ago. So what does this really mean for the future of the H1B visa? Let's get back to that. With the rising sponsorship costs, more competitive lottery, and also increased government scrutiny, it's becoming an increasingly unreliable option generally for skilled workers. And people are also questioning if there are countries out there, other countries apart from the US, that have simpler immigration rules that give better peace of mind, and if it's even worth coming to the US and consistently dealing with this issue for a bunch of years before you can permanently get a green card. And this is why relying solely on the H1B visa is also becoming increasingly risky, which is where the good news for you though is that you don't have to put all your hopes on that H1B. Now is the time that you can proactively explore alternate visa options like the EB1A or the O1A, which offer slightly more flexibility and don't really depend on the H1B lottery. So you're not signing up for a luck-based event, you're actually signing up for something that is merit-based. And so long as you can evolve your profile to legitimately build something that is worth the EB1A or the O1A, it is not out of reach for most people out there. So what do you really think? Are these changes going to reshape the future of skilled immigration in the US? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel for more important updates. It's free all the time. We put a lot of additional free resources like PDFs, free lessons, free webinars out as well. So definitely stay tuned to our newsletter as well so that you are informed of those. And don't forget to share this with anyone on an H1B or looking to apply for one, because the awareness is really, really important. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.